Welcome back to the fifth and final leg down 42nd Street. Continuing east, just across the street from Grand Central Terminal, the Chrysler Building. Tallest building in the world for less than a year, when the Empire State Building surpassed it in 1931. The Chrysler Building's 125-foot spire was built in secret within the building until it was hoisted up to finalize its height at 1,046 feet on October 23, 1929. Just one day before the stock market crash of 1929. Created by Walter Chrysler, head of the Chrysler Corporation, the great car manufacturer, it was owned by him, not the actual corporation, but it was the headquarters for the Chrysler Corporation from 1930 until the mid-1950s. Beautiful Art Deco. Many believe the crown of the building was modeled after a Chrysler grille, though that was not intended. You can see imagery of hubcaps and fenders and hood ornaments throughout the building. Cars, America. Oh yeah, and while you're here, be sure to check out the lobby. It's friggin' gorgeous. Forget about it. Continuing a couple blocks east, we discover the Ford Foundation Building. Completed in 1967, it is considered to be the most distinguished piece of modern architecture in New York City, built after World War II. It's a giant glass cube, but take a look inside. It's actually humid in here. Talk about an escape from the city. But our journey's not over yet. Back on the street and heading east, and we hit Tudor City, the first residential skyscraper complex in the world, with construction beginning in 1926 and the 13th and final building being completed 30 years later in 1956. Named for its Tudor Revival architecture, it contains approximately 5,000 residents. During the excavation back in 1929, a Hessian sword was discovered, dating back to 1776 and the Revolutionary War. The Hessians were German mercenaries that assisted the British during the war. The sword is now held by the New York Historical Society, but this mock 16th century stained glass window commemorates the find. With discussion of the Revolutionary War, we're reminded of the history of this land before modern development. It was farmland well into the early 1800s, and before that, it was a colonial fortification. Previous to that, it was a Dutch tobacco farm, which is where this neighborhood of Turtle Bay gets its name. When the Dutch first showed up here in the early 1600s, they thought that the bay looked like a knife. The Dutch word for knife, doodle. When the English showed up, they anglicized that word doodle to turtle, and the neighborhood is known as Turtle Bay to this day. Which brings us to our final location, the United Nations headquarters. Officially the UN headquarters since 1952, the UN was founded in 1945, immediately after World War II, with the goal of maintaining peace among the world's sovereign nations. So the UN really has more to do with the world than it does New York City, and yet New York City is all about the whole world. If we continued east, we'd be in the East River, then Belmont Island, Queens, Long Island, New York, and then the Atlantic Ocean. Woo! Guys, we did it! One street, just one street, 42nd Street, 2 miles. How many stories? We could do this forever, and we want to. We'll pilot the ship. We'll drive the bus, we'll conduct the train, you just take the ride. Like, share. Wait. We can't end this series of episodes without sharing with you what happens every night here in New York City. 7 p.m., the entire city stops and cheers for all of our essential workers, expressing our sincerest gratitude for all of their hard work. It's also a moment when the 8.5 million of us can remind each other that though we don't see each other physically, we are still here. And we will get through this together. Except, you know, separately. Here we go. We at UniWink love New York City. The people of this city, the entire human race, we are resilient. We have faced adversity before, and with love and kindness, we will overcome it again. Thank you all so much for watching, and be safe. Leave your comments down below. See you real soon.